Welcome to the sixth round I think this must be the seventh round or something like that of the Misfits Racing League season number 6. My name is Mika and I'll be taking you through the action for the America's Tier 2 grid as they tackle the roller coaster of a track that is the Algarve International Circuit. Apologies, there was no stream last week for the epic Monaco race that unfolded under the lights. I had some other prior commitments, but it's all smiles down here in the pit lane for the Portuguese Grand Prix. So we'll just have a quick look at how the drivers will be stacking up going into this one. Major Carlsman takes the lead of the championship after Raul unfortunately didn't score any points last time out in Monaco. So the Mercedes driver, the American, is in front with 92 points to Raul's 75. Combined YouTuber with a solid 4th place, unfortunately getting a penalty post-race, knocking him off the podium. He's in that Ferrari with 62 points in 3rd, and Mr. Bean with 46 points in 4th, just 1 point ahead of the Alpine of Paula Brady, who just has her teammate LAS1 right behind her with 43. Hennes for Williams, been a turbulent start to his season, 40 points for the Williams driver. Wordad in 8th for Alfa Romeo with 34 points. Hello, I'm Hacker for McLaren with 30, 1 point ahead of Cattle King, which rounds out your top 10. B-Man, Spanini close together, separated by 1 point between that McLaren and Ferrari duo. And Cotter's the second Williams car in 13th place with 14 points. Then we have the Honda-powered cars, Larkin, Strifium, and Jose Patazzi with 9, 2, and 2 points respectively. Nick, the only other driver to score a single point so far with season, with Alvarez, Lewis Hamilton, and Wafflorian still yet to score at this second, third stage. The Mercedes leading the way. Major Carlsman carrying that team at the moment in the Constructors' Championship with his 92 points. Alpine close behind with 88, and Ferrari just 10 points behind them, but it's very close between the Ferraris and the Red Bulls for that final place on the podium. Williams, Aston Martin, McLaren, Alfa Romeo, Haas, and AlphaTauri is your running order. And with all that said and done, it is time to finally get some action out there on the racetrack, which I absolutely cannot wait. One of the new tracks for the Formula One calendar, of course, making its debut in that very turbulent season that was the 2020 Formula One World Championship. And it hosted quite a decent race, I must say, last year. Unfortunately, I don't think it's on the calendar for the 2022 season, if my memory serves. Someone in the chat wants to correct me on that. They are more than welcome to. But, you know, the Algarve International Circuit really coming in clutch when the coronavirus was all over the place, it seemed, a couple of years ago. So a couple of clouds for the drivers here in qualifying. The 18-minute session where the drivers will have to, the 18 minutes to set the fastest lap time they possibly can around this fairly short but high-speed track. And we'll just get everything set up while we can. There we go. You can see the track map on the right-hand side of your screen. Probably one of the tracks with the most elevation changes on the entire calendar. It really is a roller coaster. Well, right on board with the Williams of Cotters, who is the first out there on the racetrack. And you can just see what I mean. That it goes up and down, left and right. It's really a joy to drive. But overtaking can be quite challenging if it's not done on that very, very long main straight going into turn 1. You want to get it done before turn 1 because that high-speed right-hander is a real handful, especially when you have to leave room for other cars around you. So a couple of reserves on this grid. Unfortunate for Strifium, he will not be here. I know, Fuba, you were asking if he was here. Unfortunately not. He will be filled in by Mr. Gorzieg, your partner Raul, for this occasion. Other reserves we have Chiri, the Spaniard, in that AlphaTauri, filling in for Larkin. And then we have, there's a couple others. Victor Diaz for Paula Brady in that Alpine. I know I'm missing one. I know I'm missing one, but I don't exactly know who. But what I do know is that Cotters is going through the final corner, the flat-out right-hander, to start his first flying lap of the session. So we'll take you around a lap of the Algarve International Circuit, this very long main straight, approaching 320 kilometers an hour, braking around 75 meters for turn 1, 5th gear, just hoping that the front tires stick through turn 2 flat out, and then this very tricky braking zone of turn 3 as you ride up the hill and hope that the rear tires have grip, and just hope you keep it within the track limits through the very tight turn 4. Down the hill now for the hairpin of turn 5, braking just after 100, down to 3rd gear. Really easy to go deep at that sequence of corners. And then it's probably the most technical section on the track, and my game has just crashed. So unfortunate, we will not get the hot lap that we were wanting, but just give me a few moments to get that sorted. Looked like a pretty clean start for Cotters, unfortunately, as well. Would have liked to see how he tackled probably the hardest sequence of corners on the entire circuit, turns 7 and 8. And you can hear cheeky plug for EA Sports. But we'll just get back in as soon as we can. Beamer, you also crashed as well? Well, no, that's just what you have to expect from Codemasters games at this point. Hopefully, it's a bit more stable at release. In approximately 4 months' time. I know, very, very exciting. The Formula 1 2022 season starting this weekend, of course, with the Bahrain race. Quite a few drivers, actually, have just crashed. Portugal is known to be quite a buggy track. So hopefully this will be the last of it, or hopefully it doesn't really affect the race. So yeah, I mean, Portugal has a history, among other leagues as well, of having quite a few issues. But we'll see how we go. We'll see how we go indeed. So I hope you guys are all hyped for the 2022 Formula 1 season. Bahrain. Ferrari looking good. McLaren were looking good until they couldn't get their front brakes to work. So hopefully they've fixed that up. And yeah, it'll be really intense. Bahrain always provides a lot of good racing. So should definitely be able to expect some really, really intense battles there. Game's not really behaving at the moment. So, we'll have to see. We'll have to see exactly how we tackle this. Cody's go burr indeed. From what I'm hearing, half the grid can't get back into the session. So we'll wait to see what the league administrators decide to do. But if it continues like this, we might have to restart the lobby. Wouldn't be the first time it's happened. But fingers crossed it'll be the last. Yep. So have to wait a little bit longer to try and get things underway. It looks like we will be having a lobby restart, so bear with us as we try and tackle exactly what has been going on. We'll just have to see what's happening with all the drivers. Hopefully we can get some good, decent racing action. All good things come to those who wait. We had a similar situation last season, I believe it was. I think it was Monaco, and it was one of the best Monaco races we had ever seen. So definitely a lot of racing potential around the Algarve International Circuit. So, and I know that all of these drivers are wanting to really maximize their performances as much as they can. Plus, with the shortest seasons compared to what we've had in the past, every race counts just that little bit more. So one mistake or a couple of mistakes, like Rao had after the incredible opening 2 rounds. And it's lights out. Not quite yet, Crofty. Not quite yet. Well, since I can't really think of anything else to say, I'll shut up. You guys can enjoy some tunes, and we'll be back when everything's up and running, hopefully. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. So you can see the timer at the top of your screens. We should be just about ready to get things underway in just a few seconds time. I'm very, very excited to see how these drivers tackle this track. We saw the first half of a lap, and we didn't get really far past that. So I have heard that there is a little bit of weather shenanigans as well for the race, set to start dry, but then the heavens open up about 10 or so minutes into the 33 lap race that these drivers will be doing in approximately 20 minutes time. So that can always spice things up. Overtaking, extremely difficult to do here in the rain. Well, it's difficult to do anywhere in the rain, but here especially, because there are a lot of corners where you're really leaning on the tires, relying on that that mechanical grip to really eke out the lap time through every single, well, all of the 16 corners on this racetrack. Jock with the tier 1 sub, thank you so much for supporting the Misfits Racing League. Hope you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever the world you may be joining us from. And hopefully these drivers can deliver. So, once again, a bit cloudy for the start of the qualifying. There's 18 minutes, 20 drivers here on this grid. And it looks like we will be getting things underway shortly. So, get things set up once more. See the tires. I dare say that everyone will be going out on the soft compound tires, because it might even rain a little bit for the second half of qualifying. So these drivers are going to really be put to the test to see who can nail that lap straight out of the bag, or who will need a couple of warm-ups to really get their groove around this very, very fast, very crazy racing track. So both Williams out there on track first, but this time it is Hennes ahead of his teammate Cotters for the first run in qualifying. So if you're just joining us, you're just in time. Welcome to the Misfits Racing League. This is season number 6, America's Tier 2. My name is Mikhail from the Great Land Down Under, and I'll be taking you through the action for the 20 drivers on this grid as they fight for glory, and who will emerge as the race winner for the Portuguese Grand Prix. Jumping aboard now with Hennes, currently 7th in the Drivers' Championship. He's had a couple of pole positions to his name already. He's won that pace, it's been there. We just hope that he's able to convert it when it comes to the race. Through the final corner now to start his lap. And once again, it's this very, very long run towards the first braking zone, approaching nearly 320 kilometers an hour. So you just hope that the car stays within the track limits. You have enough grip in those front tires. Down to second gear, all the way up to fourth for turn 3, through 4 now. Just about keeping it within the track limits. It's very strict on the exit of turn 4 there. Now for the middle sector, their downhill braking zone into the very tight hairpin of turn number 5. Up the hill you go, through the sweep of 6, and then the two most challenging corners on the entire track, turn 7 and then turn 8, and he's run wide at the exit of 7. So we'll go on board with his teammate now, who was right behind him, Cotters. Basically picking up right where he left off in the first attempt at this lobby. Through turns 10 and 11 now. Hoping to just keep it within the track limits. You have to have a nice and smooth flow through this sequence. The final sector of the lap, Henry might actually be giving his teammate a little bit of a tow, going down the main straight through 14 into 15 now. And this one final corner, the flat out right-hander, where that front left is just screaming as Henry dives on into the pits. It's going to be a 1:16.7 to start us off here in qualifying. Next across the line will be a McLaren, and it will be B-Man 16.9. for the Woking squad. Rao 17 dead with Lemelton 18-2. Fubas 17-5 reserving in that Aston Martin. At times coming in thick and fast. Wordad with a 1.123. Beamer with a 1.28. Manini 2.24. Chiri 2.70. A lot of fast and close times already on this grid. The Ferrari combined YouTuber coming across the line now. He goes provisional pole with a 1:16.581. About a tenth and a half ahead of Cotters in this opening run. The Alpha Tauri of, I believe that was Chiri. No, that wasn't. That was Jose Batazzi, 13th and slowest of the drivers who have yet to settle up. Gorzieg struggling out the exit of turn 13. And there he goes again. The Red Bull not having a good time in this early stage of qualifying. Only two drivers not out there on the track at the moment. That is Henrys, who we saw dive into the pits, and Alvarez a little bit earlier. But it looks like everyone's pretty well synced up on the opening runs. Looks like Mr. Bean still pushing through this final sector, but he looks like he might actually run out of fuel. So curious to see what the Aston Martin decides to do. We have to see Gauzy going straight into the pits. There's a few drops of rain already on screens, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Bean good enough only for 11th, and it has started to rain here in qualifying. Running aboard with Chiri. It's about to go into the pit lane. Gauzy a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with the Ferrari of Spanini. And with the rain falling, that is it. That is it. The best of the track conditions have gone. It has been a one-shot qualifying here in Portugal, ladies and gentlemen. So your grid will be combined YouTuber, the Ferrari man on a pole position. Cotters in second, lining up alongside him. Major Castleman, now championship leader, on the second row with B-Man right behind him. So the grid may be set for the race, but since there is rain forecast, I dare say that some of the drivers, well, I would recommend to some of the drivers that you might want to get a bit of practice out there in these damp conditions, because I definitely know that you haven't been practicing wet all week. Know that for a fact. Henry out there for his second attempt, and he's invalidated yet again, and he spins into the grass at the exit of turn 4. So Henry having a rough start to his Portugal campaign. And it's really going to set him on the back foot, because even though it's a dry start, he's going to only have maybe 5 to 6 laps, I would say, to really make up positions before the rain starts to fall yet again in the race. Only other drivers out there on track, B-Man on his softs as well. Alvarez invalidating, but starting his flying lap. The Alfa Romeo number 2 car going into turns 1, 2, and 3 now. You can see really having to feather the throttle as it really starts to get slippery out there. You can see he has to be so careful coming up the hill. It's a tricky corner to get the power down at the best of the times. And in these kind of conditions, absolutely atrocious. Purple set to 1 though apparently, but I think the game might be on something. Cotters retiring the session, doesn't want to do any laps in the wet. Victor Diaz will follow suit as well. Up the hill goes the Alfa Romeo Alvarez through turn 9. And turn 10 and 11, just trying to get the car stopped, get the car turned in as well, but you just see the lack of grip that it's having. He has to lift extremely through that left-hander at turn 12, through 13 into 14 and 15 now. I think it might just be 14 actually. I think there will only be 15 corners on this track. Oh, you can see just playing it nice and easy, nice and cautious to make sure he gets this lap cleanly on the board. 18th, 124.3. You can see how quickly that the rain has fallen here in Portugal. And qualifying is well and truly over. But there is still some benefit to be made as Alvarez finding the gravel. DXF, the AM Tier 2 rain curse is back. Well and truly. DRS disabled as the two Ferraris come out of the pit lane in sync. Fubar retiring from the session as well. First driver out there on the intermediate tyres is going to be Lewis Hamilton in that Mercedes. And unsurprisingly, with the black and purple lid to go along with the name. Number 43 as well. Getting as close as he can to Sir Lewis Hamilton, who will be trying to take his 8th World Drivers' title this year, after narrowly losing out to Max Verstappen in the season finale last year. So, we'll jump on board with the Mercedes driver, and we will see how tricky it is when the skies have opened. The intermediate tyres. Oh, he's run slightly wide already. The exit of turn 1. B-Man retiring from the session. He's called it quits in the pit lane as well for the McLaren. We have an Alfa Romeo of Alvarez off at turn 14 and 15. He's gotten that going again. It was very close, the exit. Very, very close. Right on the edge, but you have to be on the edge. And it's also just an opportunity for all these drivers to feel out the conditions, because the forecast has said that there may be a chance of rain in the second third of the race. So it would be good to know how the cars handle these kind of tricky conditions. You know, any last minute setup adjustments. They need maybe an extra click of front wing, just to try and get the car rotated in, because you really need to get that front pointing the right direction. Otherwise you just understeer and run wide like we saw the Mercedes do at the start of this lap. Other drivers out there on the intermediate tyres: Spinini, Cheery, combined YouTuber, Cattle King, as well as Henners, who is yet to set a time in this session. Gauzier retiring in the pit lane. He will be starting from the back row of the grid. We'll jump on board with Cattle King, who is unfortunately invalidated as well in the number 36 Haas. But he'll be starting the race from 14th with a 1:17.814, 1/10 faster than Helen Mahaka, who will line up right behind him. Through 11 we go. Down the hill for 12. Jumping on board for 13 now. You really get a sense of how much of a roller coaster this is. Maybe not in these kind of conditions, because you have to be so careful on power to not lose the rear, like we've seen many drivers do already. A little snap for the Haas. And through the flat out right-hander of 15 now. 1:32.5 for the Haas in these kinds of conditions. Very nicely done. A lot of drivers invalidating their first laps in these conditions. Major Castleman just starting a lap in the second Mercedes. Starting this race from the second row. Keeping it in bounds does the championship leader. See, really struggling to get the power down out of turn 4. Like I said before, that corner is really tricky at the best of times, and in wet conditions like these, it's almost impossible to get the power down early. Through turn 8, another corner where you have to be so careful on the throttle to prevent the rear end from slipping and sliding like a water slide. Actually, that's a pretty good analogy. Maybe in the full wets, a water slide here. We have a Ferrari off. That's combined YouTuber. Struggling in these wet conditions. Just trying to get to grips with the lack of grip on this circuit. Through 14, you can see on the telemetry just how careful the Mercedes has to be through that final sector. Can just about take that last corner flat. I don't know how Must have a lot of downforce in that car. 25.7 in the intermediate conditions. That is not a bad lap at all. Henner's only managing a 26.3 at the moment, getting himself into 19th. Combine retiring in the pit lane. He's had enough of the conditions. The drivers will be slowly but surely running out of time as Major Castleman invalidating at the exit of turn 4. With just under 5 minutes remaining in the session. So a few drivers still out there on track. Wordad being one of them. He's invalidated yet again. Going through the last few corners. Henry as well, still out there on the circuit. Cherry, the AlphaTauri, he's also in that Sector 3. Hello, I'm Hacker, retiring in the pit lane as well. Now that's the third lap in a row that Wordad has invalidated on these intermediates. So that means if he does that in the race, he will already have a 3-second time penalty. And in these kind of conditions, safety cars are not uncommon. Apologies, I haven't exactly been up to date with the other races that have already passed this week. But speaking from experience, safety cars are definitely a real possibility here. That first sequence, turns 1, 2, and 3, very tricky. If you get a bit eager out of 4 as well, you can go straight into the barrier or just skid across the road and have another car slam into you at around 170 kilometers an hour. JSQ guys doing quite well. 6th and 15th at the moment. They'll be starting the race from those positions. Raul looking to regain some momentum after not scoring in the last few rounds. It's been the two extremes for the Red Bull. 2 podiums to start off the season, and then it all fell away. Oh, three podiums, I think, to start off the season. My mistake. And then it all fell away in USA and Monaco, the last 2 rounds. So, Cattle King across the line, 25.5 for the Haas. This will be his last lap to get a feel for the conditions. Just know what to expect when the heavens open up in the race. Should the forecast be accurate, of course. So only 2 cars left out there on the track. It's Cattle King and Major Castleman who will be collecting the checkered flag on the circuit. Yes, Cotters and Beerman having a great showing in qualifying, John. Great showing. Just over a minute left. These guys have enough time for 2 more laps. Jumping back with the Mercedes, goes through turn 8. Car looking nice and stable. He's really found his rhythm in these tricky conditions. Hopefully he's able to use that practice and experience to his advantage come the race. A lot of laps around the Algarve International Circuit. It's one of the shorter tracks on the F1 calendar. I believe it's 33 laps for a 50% distance race. So around the same length as Spa, as we have the legendary Holtzman, the tier 1 sub, 8 months. Thank you for the resub, my friend. Hope you're enjoying the stream. You're just in time to witness a changeable race at Portugal, if the forecast is to be believed. So all the drivers now in the pit lane, and we'll have confirmation of the qualifying results in just a moment. So combined YouTuber, the Ferrari man, the Australian, on pole position for this race, just over a 10th ahead of the Irishman Cotters, who will line up alongside him. Major Castleman, B-Man, Victor Diaz and Ralph, 3, 4, 5 and 6. with Wordad, Beamer, Spinini, and Cheery rounding out the top 10. LES1, the Argentinian in the Alpine, starts 11th with Mr. Bean, the Lebanese driver, right behind him in 12th. Fubar, the Aston Martin reserve, filling in. He starts 13th. Cattle King in the Haas, 14th. Hello, I'm Hacker in 15th. Lamilton in 16th. Jose Batazzi in 17th. Alvarez 18th. Henners in 19th with Gauzier unable to set a time, and he will start at the back of this grid. So a very, very competitive grid. We had a one-shot qualifying as the rain started to happen around 3 minutes into this qualifying session, but with a changeable race ahead of us, will those who took the time to get some practice on track in the intermediate conditions, will they have the edge for the majority of this Grand Prix? We'll have to wait and see. I do believe it is a dry start, so there are some opportunities to make up a couple of positions, and the drivers on track today are going to really be tested to see how well they adapt on the fly in those changeable conditions, and how quickly they're able to switch their lines, switch their mentalities, as well as they tackle a tricky but hopefully exciting race ahead of them here this evening. So just 10 seconds to go before the start of the formation lap. If we have any engineers in the chat who want to give us an update on how the weather is looking, that would be much appreciated. So know exactly what the drivers are going to be thinking, exactly what is going to be their strategy. We have absolutely no idea. I dare say most of the drivers will be starting on softs, but if the rain is forecast to come a little bit later in the race, those on the back 10 starting on the mediums might be a good idea. Nice and quiet in the pit lane. You can see the Mercedes mechanics watching on with intent as their two drivers, Major Castman and Lewis Lamilton, try and do their best for the Brackley squad. But it's all about this man, combined YouTuber. He will start on pole position, hoping to make amends after receiving a post-race penalty in Monaco that knocked him off of the podium. Man, relax. What do you need to do to participate in this league? My friend, first step is to join the Discord to go through all of the rules. You can see the Discord in the bio below. I do believe there's a command, exclamation mark Discord. If that still works, I have absolutely no idea. Don't quote me on it, but join the Discord, my friend. There'll be more instructions in there, and you can also message one of our great staff members, and they'll help you out as well. So, lots of clouds for the start of this race. A couple of drivers not moving. That is Fuba, and it also looks like it is the Alpine of Victor Diaz, who is yeah, I don't know how he's managed that. And it's already raining. It has already started raining here in Portugal. Oh, Victor Diaz finally getting the car going. That's interesting. He has now left the session, so we will be able to at least get this race underway. But we'll see how things go. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Portuguese Grand Prix for America's Tier 2 Season 6. My name is Mikkel from the Great Land Down Under here in Australia. Trying not to be a homeboy fanboy, as the only Australian in this grid, combined YouTuber, starts this race from pole position, so I'll try to be as neutral as possible, but no promises. No promises, alright. Cotter's the Irishman lining up alongside him. Major Carlson, our championship leader, on that second row. A lot of work to do for Rao, starting in 6th after a strong showing in the first 3 races. Mr. Bean, another race winner, starts 12th. Henner's a lot of pace in 19th as well. But all these drivers unfortunately have to wait as the AI of Victor Diaz makes his way very slowly around this track for the formation lap. And the longer he takes, the more rain is going to start falling. So it's going to be a really, really crucial, really important first few laps. Yes, Holtzman, it is raining already. We thought it was going to be about 5-10 minutes into the race. Maybe they had a few laps on the dry. Nuh-uh. It is already starting to spit down here at the Algarve International Circuit. As Victor Diaz abusing the fact that he can just retake his grid slot. Ultimate conditions already. Well, if it dries up at the end of the race, we know what the Alfa Romeo boys will be doing. But it's now time, ladies and gentlemen. The Alpine has taken his spot on the grid. We have 3, 4, 5 red lights here in Portugal in the spinning conditions. The lights are out very quickly and away they go. Looks like a terrible start for the Ferrari combined YouTube. Our pole man already losing at the corners, and there's a massive crash already. There is someone, that's Alvarez, out of this race already. The Alfa Romeo losing it at the start of this race. We have a virtual safety car. B-Man a 5-second time penalty for a collision with Major Castleman. And that is probably the worst possible start for those in the back half of the grid. The VSC is out, combined YouTuber, able to regain a spot. And B-Man, another 5-second time penalty for gaining a place on the Mercedes. So, another 5 seconds. Victor Diaz ignoring yellow flags, as the virtual safety car was called out basically immediately. But a good start for the Irishman, Cotters. He is able to get the jump on the Ferrari. And a lot of drivers actually getting 5-second time penalties for ignoring yellow flags, which won't be removable as they'll have to serve them in the pit lane once they have to pit for the intermediate tyres. So it's very unfortunate for those guys, but the race isn't over yet. A lot of things can happen, but unfortunate for Alvarez. His race is well and truly over, about 100 meters out of his grid slot. So pretty tragic for the Alfa Romeo, but it's green flag racing once again. Cotter's getting a decent jump, combined struggling to get those tyres up to temperature. He has B-Man right behind him as they go through this right-hander. They're still taking it flat in these slippery conditions. And my oh my, these guys have a lot of confidence as Wordad dropping down the order in the midfield. You can see combined YouTuber in the slipstream, has a look to the outside, but not quite able to get the move done. But Smanini, his teammate, looking up the inside of rail into turn 1. They can't just quite find the move to get past the Red Bull. But he is now under threat from LES1 on the Alpine. Looking up the inside as Fubar going around at turn 1. But these two going side by side up the hill through turn 4. And the amazing amount of grip from the Alpine. LES1 gets the move done into turn 5. What a move from the Alpine. He's now up into 8th place, ladies and gentlemen. What a start for those guys. Position changes now on your screen. Biggest winners are Gorziag up 5 places and Beamer up 4 places. The Haas driver doing all in 4th as we see Rao losing the rear. Spanini losing the rear as well as we run on board with the Ferrari. We'll jump up 1 spot with LES1. He is putting a lot of pressure on this Red Bull. This is his kind of condition. Look at the grip that he has going into turn 11, but just can't quite find a way past the Red Bull just yet. Has a little look up the inside of turn number 12 and 13 through 14 now. Oh, he's got the line. He's got so much confidence on those soft compound tires. He's going to go up the inside of 15. What just amazing confidence in this car. The two drivers now going side by side, having a drag race. All overtake is being deployed. The Alpine on the outside, Red Bull on the outside. Who is going to yield for turn 1? And with nobody, and they come together. The two Red Bull, the Alpine come together, and the Alpine is off into the gravel. That was never going to work. That was never going to work. Too wide. And combined YouTube are falling like a stone as well as DRS gets enabled for lap 3 of this race. Combined down to 5th as you see the Mercedes of Major Castleman going up the inside of Beamer into turn number 5. The ABA drag race still now up the hill through 6 into turn 7 and 8. And they just slot in line as Beamer gets another 5 per second time penalty. He's on 15 now. What is going on? Really in a spot of bother. But it's been a great start for the Haas of Beamer. Up 5 places already in these early stages. Combined YouTuber, our pole sitter, really struggling. But all these guys still within that DRS range. They might really need it because once the rain starts getting heavier and heavier, it's going to be almost impossible to overtake. We'll have a look with our championship leader. It's Major Castleman. He's got the overtake on. He's got the DRS active, as does the Haas in front of him, but the overtake too much. We're looking around the outside of turn 1. Oh, the Haas fights it up, cuts him off. Goes defensive extremely. Major Castleman has to settle and just slow in right behind. Combine trying to find a move around the outside right behind him as well. You can just see in the mirrors. And he's almost pushing him through, as we have the other Alfa Romeo of Wordad around in the middle sector as Combine up the inside. A massive dive on the championship lead, and the Ferrari makes it stick. He gets up car pulled up, and the Australian now back up into 4th. A very important move there as well. 3-second time penalty down in 7th for multiple warnings in these slippery conditions as the rain continues to get worse and worse. I don't think we're going to be too far away from Inters, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think we are too far away from Inters. There's Jose Patazzi into the wall at the final corner. He's missing a front wing. The AlphaTauri not having a good day so far. But Cotters still leads him away. B-Man sticking right with them, though. Beamer, unfortunately, falling off a little bit with combined YouTuber, Major Castleman, and Victor Diaz right behind him. But a little bit further down the grid, the battles are still raging on. LES1. We saw he had the pace in these kind of conditions, and then got into an incident with Rao at turn 1. He's trying to make up some ground, any ground that he can, and show that he really does have the confidence in the slick intermediate conditions. Cotters early in the pit lane. Beamer into the pits as well. Victor Diaz. This guy's speedy for Inters. It has to be for intermediate tyres, guys. Surely. Looking at the Red Bull pit crew. Yeah, it's intermediate tyres for all these guys in the pit lane. We'll get the tyre information now up on your screen. Hennes, Jose Patazzi, and Wordad already putting on the intermediate tyres. And the call has been made. The crossover is now, ladies and gentlemen. The intermediate tyres going on for the majority of drivers on this grid. But will they be able to get the gap, or they pit that one lap too early? Who has gotten the strategy right? Who has gotten the strategy right, ladies and gentlemen? We'll have a look at that gap. B-Man, Major Castleman, and combined YouTuber. It really is starting to come down now, but it looks like they're still finding a little bit of grip in those softs. DRS is still enabled. Yep, DRS is still enabled, Holtzman. But it's starting to really get treacherous out there. We are right on the crossover, ladies and gentlemen. Cotters losing a little bit of time to combine YouTuber. He might have just called it a little bit early, just one lap too early, and that could be all it takes. Yellow flag set to 1 as Wordad still continuing to struggle in that first part of the lap. Change the rule for removing the 5-second time penalty if it's served in the pits and there's a safety car after that. Nope, it cannot be removed. Unsurprisingly, the top 3 now into the pit lane. It is well and truly intermediate conditions now, but Cotters gaining a little bit of time now. 23 though, 23 seconds as he comes through turn 14. This is going to be close. This is going to be very close. The top 3, Major Castleman, head of combined YouTuber, and B-Man after serving one of his 5-second time penalties. Major Castleman, you can see Cotters on the right-hand side of your screens, ladies and gentlemen. Cotters is through, but it looks like they have gotten ahead of Beamer. Beamer, looking around the outside. Combined YouTuber has to back out of the move. So it's basically stations as you were, but looks like Major Castleman has made a spot. Yes, that is true, Lovell. That is very, very true. But the chances of a safety car right now are extremely high. Extremely, extremely high. It's only lap 6. So we'll see how these drivers go. Combined YouTuber really struggling on power there is Victor Diaz, and going side by side with Helm Hacker. Just trying to get the power down, but look at the traction from the McLaren driver. He's able to just really get the power down a lot earlier than the Alpine and holds on to that 9th place. A weekend to forget for the Alfa Romeos then. Unfortunately, both Wordad and Alvarez out of this race. The only 2 drivers out by lap 6. Henry picking up a 3-second time penalty. He's currently sitting in 17th. Just trying to find his rhythm, find his groove if he can. We saw Victor Diaz really thriving in the on the dry tyres in these kind of slippery conditions, but it looks like he doesn't quite have the pace on these intermediate tyres. Cattle King all over the back of this Alpine. and teleports through him. But with the overtaken DRS, oh, he's still really close. As Victor Diaz now back in the session. It might have actually disconnected. Maybe that's why he was really falling off the pace. But it's very close still. As Cheery has a run on Spinini going into turn 5, ladies and gentlemen. The AlphaTauri on the inside of the other Italian team. Oh, Spinini tries to hold it. You can see Raul going a little bit wide as well at the exit of turn 5. They're still going at it. But Cheery has to just tuck in behind for turn 7 and 8. Can't quite find the move just yet. But one Ferrari on the defense, the other Ferrari on the attack. His combined YouTuber trying to get past Beamer as soon as he possibly can. Jumping back on board with the AlphaTauri. As a good run, Spinini missed the apex at turn 11. This could give Cheery a look. Turn 13 isn't a conventional overtaking spot, but it is an opportunity. It is a braking zone. So let's see how things go. They have a trio nice and tight behind them as well, between Helm Hacker, Cattle King, and Victor Diaz. All that 9th position. They come through turn 15 now. Still very, very close together. But I don't think he's going to be quite close enough to make a move as the AlphaTauri. The Cattle King most certainly is. He's not using that ERS though. He wants to just stick behind. Conserve some energy. Conserve some tires. Because these guys, if it continues to rain, will be going to the end of this race. Wisely called AM when it's PM. It stands for the Americas. Americas Tier 2. Because the European splits don't have the EU in front of them. Because they appeared first. So, simple as that, really. Henry, another 3-second time penalty, down in 17th. Not having a good time at it. But Spinini definitely is not either. Cheery is able to get past the Ferrari. Going through turn 12 now is the Ferrari. Right on the back of Cheery. You can already see how difficult it is to make passes in these kinds of conditions. But that hasn't stopped drivers from trying. Victor Diaz getting in his rhythm once more after a few technical issues in the early stage of the race. Well, it is morning for some of the drivers on the grid. Hennes and Cotters, as well as Fuba. Certainly isn't stopping the Irishman though. 1.1 seconds ahead of Major Castleman at this stage of the race, showing great pace, great consistency. Unfortunate for Beamer and combined YouTuber, unable to really stick with them as Henry has gone around at turn 14. So looks like all the drivers just keeping it nice and safe for the time being. Seeing where their pace is at in these kind of conditions. Cattle King, though, coming under a lot of pressure from Victor Diaz behind. The Alpine definitely has a lot of speed. But is it going to be enough speed? About 4 tenths now coming out of the long right-hander. Looks like he's not using any ERS. And doesn't quite have the straight line speed either to make a move. Henry's put on the medium tyres. I don't know what he's thinking on the Williams pit wall, but definitely is still raining out there. Definitely is still raining. So we'll have to keep an eye and see how he goes. I don't think it's going to be very good, though. Already dropping a second in the space of 2 corners. Really throwing that one away as the Williams driver, but he was in a rough spot already, as it was. Currently watching the tight 4-car train in the midfield between Hello I'm Hacker and Mr. Bean. The fight for 9th. Fortunately, no one quite close enough to make any kind of overtakes, as Henry has, unsurprisingly, crashed at turn 10. And that is a safety car. That is the full safety car. So, that is going to bunch this field right back up. And those with penalties are going to be really hurting. Really, really hurting. It also doesn't help the other Williams of Cotters, who is actually building a little bit of a gap to Major Castleman. But unfortunately, that gap has now disintegrated with his teammate crashing out. Kind of what happens when you go on the wrong tyre compound, unfortunately. So do any of these drivers pit? Because the intermediates can do the whole race, even from lap 1. It is a 0 stop in the wet conditions. So I don't think we'll see too many drivers into the pit lane, but for those who have 5-second time penalties, might be a good idea serving them. Yep, told you the chance of a safety car was high level. Looks like Cotters will be staying out, as will Major Castleman right behind him. Beamer. Looks like he is going. Nope, he thought about it. It stays out as well. Looks like I think everyone's just staying out. Oh no, we have a pitter. B-Man into the pit lane to serve one of his 5-second time penalties. It's a good call. Very good call indeed. Fresh set of intermediate tyres. Now the fresh set will mean something towards the latter stages of this race. The fresher tyres will matter at the end of this race because the intermediates do still die out a fair bit. So your running order as it stands, Cotters in the lead of this race. Major Castleman in second, Beamer in third, with combined YouTuber the Ferrari in fourth, Rao in fifth, Cherry Falfataro in sixth, Spinini in seventh, Hello I'm Hacker in eighth, Cattle King in ninth, Victor Diaz in 10th, Mr. Bean is 11th. Fuba, you can see coming through on screen now in the Aston Martin, he's in 12th. Leo Swan in 13th. B-Man coming through down in the McLaren, he's 14th. We're just sitting on this camera angle the entire time. We watch the cars go through. And there's Hamilton in 15th place. Just gotta wait for Gorziag and Jose Patazzi to join the back of the queue. They are now able to unlap themselves, which is probably a good sign for them. Yep, Alvarez not having a good season. Paula not having a good season at all. Only could make it about 100 meters off the start before some other drivers around him lost control and sent him into the barrier on the left-hand side. You see that Mercedes power unit really working, going down into turn 1. He's just approaching the safety car queue now. So we'll be under safety car for at least another lap as we wait for these two slowpokes to catch back up to the grid. 40.5 seconds for these guys to catch up. See the two Honda rear wings going through Gauzier, Jose Batazzi. 16th and 17th, but have an opportunity to catch right back up to the rest of the field and really show what they're made of. They aren't gaining a whole lot of time though on the safety car. Gauzier's only really been able to gain about 5/10. And now it's coming down. And we'll be going around yet again. So green at the end of 14 it would look like. As a combined and rail. Having a little bit of a switcheroo. Oh, we have a spin. Hello, I'm Hacker is spun at turn 14. Trying to get some temperature into those rear tyres, and that's it. Buying YouTube a 5-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flags. I guess so that's from the issues he was having with Rao. So unfortunate for the Australian. We'll see how things go though. Gauzier, Jose Batazzi just about making their way to the back of the safety car queue. Guide on how to close the gap by 40 seconds in 2 laps. See all the cars going through the hairpin of turn 5. And there they are. Gauzier and Jose Batazzi now at the back of this queue. The whole 17 car grid who are left running in this race are all here and accounted for. And Spinini has just spun. The Ferrari's gone around at turn 8. So even under safety car conditions, ladies and gentlemen, we've had 2 spins. Tyres really dropping pressure, dropping temperature. And they just aren't working. They aren't in the correct operating window. There's the call from race control. Safety car is now in the slap, and Cotters will lead them away at a tortoise-like 50 kilometers an hour. That must hurt the drivers behind to go that slow. I mean, you can just see. Just trying to get as much temperature into the tires as they can, really working those fronts, but very hard to get temperature in the rears, and that's kind of what you need for this final corner. There's been an issue for the back 5. They are 6 seconds behind the rest of the field. What on earth is going on? Looks like they've gone. Now Cotters has gone. The rest of the guys have gone. And it's a mess. It's a mess on this restart, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of tossing and turning in the midfield to run on board with Frubards. 2 by 2. Oh, there's contact with LAS1, but Frubards able to keep the car pointing the right way. Loses the position to Beam, and then goes LAS1 yet again. Contact this time with his teammate. He drops down the order. But leading them away, it is Cotters from Major Castleman, Spinini. They're getting a 3-second time out. You see all the cars going through the hairpin now. And there is Rao. Oh, no, that's Gauzier getting all out of shape at turn 5. It's B-Man getting past Cattle King for 9th place. Going into turn 7 and 8. Cattle King around the outside. Can he find the track? And he's on the curb. Can't quite find the grip in those rear tyres just yet to get past the Alpine. But Frubar, it's like, yep, I'm just going to take that position back. Thank you very much. Cattle King really struggling. He's missing an end plate. It's missing that left-hand side end plate, ladies and gentlemen. The Haas has front wing damage and he is falling like a stone as LS1 trying to do a double overtake in a turn to 13. Wow. Things are really spicy in this back half of the grid. But Tazzy just getting boxed in by the Haas. Going to go around the outside of Cattle King. Smanini as well up the inside. The Haas just falling like a stone. Has to go into the pit lane. Hello, I'm Hacker into the pits as well, right behind him. At the front of things, combined YouTuber up the inside. Goes for the dive on Beamer. Beamer with an amazing switchback there, side by side, going up the hill through turn 4. This could get dicey. Beamer runs a little bit off the track. But combined still ahead. He goes for the lunge at turn 5. And the Red Bull of Rouse tries to follow him through. Oh, but he might get moved to them but the Red Bull just messes up the exit slightly. But it's a drag race now between the Haas and the Ferrari. Both have Ferrari power units up the inside. Is the Ferrari combined YouTuber. And he finally makes that move sick for the podium places. But once again, Coda's a major castman in a league of their own in the web. Absolutely flying away with this. Meanwhile, right behind these guys, it's still starting to heat up. We'll jump back with B-Man and Mr. Bean. You see the train really starting to form behind. This slipstream going to be very powerful as LAS1 now gets past Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton, I should say. Mr. Bean struggling a little bit, but B-Man still on the charge. Look at the straight line speed of that Mercedes power unit in the back of that McLaren up the inside of turn 1. And he's going to make the move past Cherry. Rao running a little bit wide, as has B-Man. Cherry looking for a counter-attack, but decides against it. Going to slot in right behind. Oh, some of the drivers getting out of shape through turn 4. One of them isn't Beamer. Sticking right behind. A little look from Cherry in the back of things. But a little later dive from Victor Diaz. And that's going to compromise his line. He's going to lose out, in fact, to Fubar maybe, coming up the hill. Through turn 6 now, into 7. Fubar, Victor Diaz still ahead. Fubar has the inside line though for turn 8. Victor might have to back out, but he finds the grip, an amazing line through turn 8. And he's able to just hold on to that position. But Fubar, wow, what grip. Oh, these intermediates around the outside of turn 9. Just incredible driving from the Aston Martin here this evening. Jumping a bit further back. Spanini in the battle for 12th place with Hamilton and Battaglia. You can see that going over to the right hand side of the track, trying to break the slipstream as much as he can, with the throw drivers behind him just following him through. All gaining on the Mercedes, but not quite getting enough. Gauzier, 3-second time penalty for going a little bit wide at turn 1. Speaking of wide, that's where Hamilton is gone, but Smanini getting all out of shape, but Battaglia has gotten a good exit. He's got the run. He's got the overtake on with the DRS. Looks around the outside. Later on the brakes is the AlphaTauri, but the Mercedes still has that inside line. The Ferrari with the front row seats, and the Mercedes, Hamilton, just about able to stay in front of the AlphaTauri. A great scrap here for 13th, or 12th place, I should say. There's a bit of a scrap as well going on for the wooden spoon at the moment. Hello, I'm Hacker. Cattle King fighting for 16th. Cattle King getting a better exit there out of turn 4. Going to hold off the attack from the McLaren. We'll jump back up with the midfield, as the gap between the front two and the rest of the grid is almost 5 seconds. Wow. And there's a big grid, big gap in this grid. No movements just yet for these guys. Victor Diaz gaining, but not quite getting enough. But Smanini is gaining. He's going to go for it. He's used all that ERS, but just doesn't quite have the straight line speed to get that overlap that he needs for that overtaking the turn 1. Just can't quite find the extra straight line that he really needs. That extra maybe 10 kph, that DRS, if you will. He needs that DRS to make moves in these kind of conditions. He was so close to the back of the AlphaTauri, but the AlphaTauri rocket ship just holding on for dear life. But Diaz unfortunately disconnected from the session once more. Now his teammate LES1 right behind him for that final point place. 2 Aston Martins close together as well in 8th and 9th. Be a decent result for those two. It's just unfortunate that overtaking is as difficult as it is in these kind of conditions. I see a couple of close moves, and there we go, the swap for the Alpines. Oh, the AI turning in on the LES1. He's fighting it. Victor Bott really fighting it. Oh, almost taking out his teammate. Wowee. Now that is something you don't see every day. Speaking of, Spanini was able to get past. Unfortunately, we missed that overtake. Spanini was able to get past Batazzi. But, yeah, the AlphaTauri just doesn't quite have the line he needs. But Spanini misses his braking point at turn 3. That's going to open up the door for the AlphaTauri. They go side by side up the hill. Oh, they just about keep it out on each other, and just in the track limits of the drag race coming down the hill now. Downhill braking for turn number 5. The Ferrari up the inside, has the overlap, and gets that place right back from the AlphaTauri. A great scrap between the two Italian manufacturers. Or teams, I should say. Jumping up to the battle for 5th place between B-Man and Cheery. And McLaren down to 5 seconds of time penalties. It looks like the grid's really starting to spread out now. Everyone's finding their footing. Just right about where their pace is at the moment. Mr. Bean putting Cheery under a little bit of pressure now. The Lebanese driver down into turn 5. B-Man actually has a red X. He is disconnected from the session. That's just happened. You can see the pop-up just a few moments ago on your screens. So that is disastrous for the McLaren. Cheery almost pushing the AI through. Looks up the inside into turn 10 and 11. Gets the move done. Mr. Bean also closes it up drastically on the McLaren. B-Man finally getting back in the session, but I think the damage is well and truly done. Mr. Bean just pushing the McLaren through. Has a little look, but just can't quite find the gap. He needs a good exit and needs to find the line through 15 in order to make this move. Oh, B-Man so slow. The checkup. And Frubar's right in now on this as well. Oh, a little bit of a teleport back. Mr. Bean makes it through now. It's Frubar side by side with B-Man going down into turn 1. Will stay on board with the Aston. They're still going at it. They touch. Oh, B-Man's round. B-Man is round. Again, too wide into turn 1 in these conditions just does not work. It doesn't work in the slightest. B-Man costing or paying the price for it. He's down to 14th now, out of the points. That's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate for the B-Man. He's in such a good position. Just got a bit greedy, I think. Trying to defend that Fubar as well. He was always going to go for that move, I think. But still 11 laps left to go. Anything can happen. And here in MRL it usually does, let's be honest. Lots of drama throughout the seasons, the 5 seasons prior. Looking forward to see what Season 6 has to bring us for the remainder of this game cycle. So on screen now are the closest gaps on this grid, about 5 to 6 tenths between all these guys in the lower points paying positions. Actually, Rao getting really close, as is LAS1. Having a little look up at the inside of Fuba. Again, too wide into turn 1 doesn't work. LAS1 goes around yet again. How many times do we need to see it? Ladies and gentlemen in the chat, how many times do we need to see it before we know that it just doesn't work? You can't go too wide into turn 1 in these kind of conditions. Not here. B-Man looking at the inside. Oh, this turns in. They come together. LS1. Oh. Not the cleanest move ever. But B-Man is through. Gauzier gets through as well on the Alpine. He is not going to be happy in that cockpit in 15th now. He is not going to be happy in the slightest. Getting bullied on this racetrack at the moment. A little bit further up, Spinini. On the back of Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton really just doing what he can, try and secure his first points of the season. Get his campaign off a little bit late, but better late than never. Same, unfortunately, can't be said for Waffle and Wordad. Both of those two yet to score. From memory, Fubar, 3-second time penalty in 8th place. So it's Alvarez, my bad. Alvarez in the other Alfa Romeo. Not Wordad. Alvarez yet to score either. B-Man. Getting close on the back of that Alpha Tauri. Had a little moment though. Coming out of turn 4. Can't quite find the speed that he needs to get past these guys. Well, it was LAS1 2 laps ago. Now it's Victor Diaz starting to put Fubar under a little bit of pressure. Does he know not to go too wide into turn 1 on these kind of conditions? Your best move in this race, in these kinds of track conditions, is probably turn 5, to be honest. Get a good run through 3 and 4, and then just right up the inside of turn 5. Make sure you get the car pulled up, and then just focus on the exit and get ahead before turn 7. Probably the best chance of a move, because the dirty air really affects you through turn 15. That final right-hander that's flat in the dry. Not in these conditions though. Not quite close enough, but B-Man most definitely is. Using that overtake, he has some ground to make up to the outside, and he will hopefully clear the AlphaTauri before... Oh, AlphaTauri keeps his nose in. But a good move from the McLaren, now up into 12th place. You know, we have to give our 2 leaders some screen time. Cotter's 2 seconds ahead, just about, of Major Castleman. And these two almost 10 seconds clear of the rest of the field. Unfortunately, Gauzier losing it at turn 4 as well. So Cattle King coming through now as well. Gauzier recovering nicely. But yeah, Cotters, what a drive so far from the Williams. The Irishman just really showing his class in the rain. Just great pace, great consistency, still pulling a gap to Major Castleman by a couple of tenths a lap. But this is what Major needs as well. Clean 2nd place. All of his rivals behind him. All of his closest rivals, I should say, behind him. So a nice easy race for the 2 at the front. Well driven indeed. But let's get back to some on-track action. Spinini trying to chase down a Mercedes, who tries his best to break the toe, but isn't quite close enough to make a move into turn 1. B-Man, though, getting very close, and this is what I was saying before. If you get a good run through here, there is an overtaking opportunity at the end of the straight, but unfortunately a little slip and slide for the McLaren. They're pretty decent exit for Spinini as well. They'll have to just hold station, but the McLaren a lot later on the brakes compared to the Ferrari. That gap disintegrates to basically nothing. Welcome, Potato Gaming. Welcome to the stream. 26 of 33 here in Portugal for the 6th round of MRL Season 6. Helm Hacker Gauzier going at it at turn 5 for 15th place. Who's leading the championship at the moment? It's this man right here, Major Castleman. Mercedes ahead by about 12 points or so. 12, 13, 14 points to Rao going into this one, but a nice clean race from him as combined YouTuber and Beamer exchange. Beamer back on the podium places. Combined though, doing his best to try and stay with the Haas. He's really struggling in these conditions right at the moment. Down the hill they go. We'll jump back with B-Man, who's literally pushing the Ferrari through, but gets a bit unstuck, locks the rears at turn 3, and that's going to basically eliminate all the hard work that he's just done to close that gap up as much as he did. See all 4 of these cars, including Jose Patazzi, in this trio coming through turn 5. Ooh, that's an aggressive dive. B-Man up the inside of the Ferrari at turn 8. You don't see that every day. But it looks like he might have the straight line speed. Does he have the grip around the outside? Almost. Yes, he does. Holy moly. On worn tires too. That's 14 lap hold. I mean, he had the tire advantage, but even still, that is a lot of confidence in that car to make it through on the Ferrari. Wow. But that was a crucial move. That was a very important move for the McLaren. And now Jose Patazzi, it's now his turn to try and get past this Ferrari. You see the wash of understeer mid-corner. It must be so difficult for those drivers out there right now. So difficult, but look at the straight line speed. That just isn't quite enough. These two have done battle once before. It's been an 83-second time penalty, getting the penalties now up on screen. That's now 6 seconds for the Ferrari. So theoretically, Jose just needs to keep it clean and he will jump not only this Ferrari, but B-Man as well with that 5 seconds. So just put in the laps, hit all those apexes. Nice and clean, nice and easy for the AlphaTauri. He will secure P11. No points, but it's all about those bragging rights, eh? Speaking of points, Hamilton keeping it clean so far, still running in 10th for his first point of the season. But B-Man all over the back of this for Mercedes. Look at this. This might be exactly what we'll be seeing on Sunday, unless Mercedes really take off all the sand that they put as ballast in that car. Hamilton under a lot of pressure at the moment. B-Man holding it around the outside. You can see the McLaren. Oh, they're almost bang wheels. It's so close between these two. Hamilton has to get out of the throttle, and a clean around the outside goes the McLaren. But now the slipstream for the Mercedes, that Mercedes power unit. The drag not as strong. Oh, they're side by side in turn 1. We've seen this before. They keep it clean though, both running a little bit off the road. B-Man, oh, he's touched him again. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's so close together. Spinini, he's getting a bit too eager on the power. Now Jose Patazzi has the front row seat to all this, and Hamilton, after all of that, maintains that 10th place. Spinini looking on the inside. B-Man goes deep. And that's going to open the door. Maybe not just for Spinini, but Batazzi as well. No, not quite. But B-Man fighting back into turn 7. Here we go. Spinini trying to switch back through 8, but just can't quite find the traction he needs out of those rear tyres. What a battle for this final point. It's only 1 point, guys. But this point means the world to them. I can just see it. The way that how hard they're racing each other at the moment with only a handful of laps to go. It's very important. Very important at this stage of the race. This time B-Man has the slipstream. And he's very close to the back of that Mercedes Fubaro. Another 3 seconds. Gauzy another 3 seconds as well. Gauzy up to 21 seconds of time penalties. Never mind about that. Up the inside goes B-Man. Oh, they keep it clean once more. That's what you like to see. Lamilton gets a little push in the back from Spinini, saying, okay, come on, hurry up. B-Man makes it through. Rear view of Lamilton. Spinini not quite close enough to make the move into turn 5. He has a little look. He's very late on the brakes. And that's going to cost him. Cost him a position to Yosei. Looks like LAS1 has gotten past Gauzy into turn 5 as well for 16th place. And Mr. Bean might actually have a little look at Chiri going into turn 1. Not quite close enough on this occasion, but just trying to apply as much pressure as he possibly can to that AlphaTauri. The Spaniard, though, doing well. 6th place. A solid points position at the moment. There's the tyre life. Everyone on very, very worn intermediate, except for B-Man in 10th. As well as our drivers in 14th, 15th, and 16th. But with no more safety cars this race, things are looking pretty set in stone at the moment, at least for our top 2. Major Castleman did pick up a 3-second time penalty at some point in the race. Oh, here we go. Is Mr. Bean close enough on this occasion? Doesn't quite look like it. With 2 laps to go, Cotters in the lead by 2.7 seconds. And then Major Castleman has a whopping 15 behind at the moment. Fastest lap belongs to combined YouTuber 120.460. So he'll be getting that extra point at the moment. Unless anyone is able to beat that time. But in these kind of conditions, I find that unlikely. Field nice and spread out now. Gauzy yet another 3-second time penalty. That's 24 now for the Red Bull. But he's last out of the remaining runners, so he's just trying to get the car across the line, it would seem. Now that battle for that last points position, still very intense. You can see the 3 dots going through turn 8 on that far right hand side of the track. The Mercedes, AlphaTauri and Ferrari of Lamilton, Batazzi and Spinini, respectively. Looks like Mr. Bean isn't quite close enough to make the move on Chiri yet again. But Batazzi, if he's able to keep this gap through this final set, that most certainly is going into their final lap of the race. It's going to be all or nothing, but remember, Hamilton has to remember, these guys have time penalties. B-Man still has 8. He just needs to stay within 8 seconds of B-Man to have a shot at taking his first points of the season. The first point of the season. Look at the back. At the back here, Spinini. Right on the back. This is the last lap of the race, ladies and gentlemen. Lap 33 of 33 for these two. And they're going to go side by side into turn 1. There we go. The Ferrari ahead of the AlphaTauri. But there might be a counter-attack on the way. We'll have to keep an eye on the gaps there, but it's all about this man right now. The Irishman, Cotters. What a race. What a drive from the Irishman. He took the lead from the start and just didn't look back. It's Cotters for Williams. He will cross the line now to take the win here in Portugal. And Major Castleman behind him will finish in 2nd place. Nicely done indeed. It's Beamer coming around the final corners now, but unfortunately with time penalties, he is going to drop down to 4. There will be combined YouTuber for Ferrari. Rounding off the podium, Rao in 4th position right behind him. And Chiri actually jumping Rao as well as Mr. Bean for 4th, 5th and 6th. Beamer is 7th. Frubar goes down to 9th after his 6 seconds of time penalties. Rao getting 20 seconds after the race. Interesting. And B-Man with the penalty. Has Hamilton done enough? He has. He has at this stage done enough to hold on to a single point. His first point of the season for the Mercedes driver. Congrats to him, the Italian. Just getting his points, that point on the board. That's going to mean the world to him after what has been a tough start to the season. Well done to all of our top 10 finishers. Unfortunate for those just outside of the points. Cattle King in 11th. Batazzi in 12th. B-Man goes down to 13th, I think, after all the penalties. But just a dominant performance from our front two. Cotters and Major Castleman, formerly known as Captain Minor in seasons gone by. Just what a drive from those three. Or from those two combined. Lacking a little bit of pace in the rain, but still able to round off the podium. Enjoy the champagne, gents. Enjoy that champagne. It's well deserved, well earned after a very difficult drive. For everybody. I mean, everyone who finished this race deserves a pat on the back because Portugal in the rain is not easy. There, can you hear him? It's Cotters. P1. 25 points for the Irishman and Williams. As Major Castleman comes home in 2nd and combined with 16 points, taking an extra point for fastest lap in the race, but unfortunately not able to convert that pole position into race victory here tonight. Chiri, the Spaniard, reserving. He finishes in 4th. Mr. Bean, the Lebanese driver, in 5th. Beamer, the Indian, in 6th. Victor Diaz, 7th after some technical issues. Definitely had the pace, but just didn't quite get the opportunity to showcase that pace. Frubar in 8th, Rao in 9th, Hamilton in 10th. Rounds out your points finishes with Cattle King, Batazzi, Beeman, Spinini, Helon Hacker, Elias One, and Gorzieg. Last of the finishes. Unfortunate for Hennes and both Alfa Romeos of Werdad and Alvarez, who were unable to finish this race. Unfortunately, I don't have time for interviews. So that's all the time we have for this evening. Thank you all for joining me on this wild and wacky adventure. Unfortunately, this will be my last race commentating for America's Tier 2, but I think Strufia might be taking over from me in the next round. So it's been a pleasure, guys. Really thoroughly enjoyed this first leg of the season, and I hope all the drivers have as well. My name has been Mikhail. This has been Misfits Racing America's Tier 2, and be sure to tune in tomorrow for the Tier 1 guys, both the European and North American splits, as they take on this roller coaster of a track. I'll see you guys then.